You know, in a market that's just obsessed with Bitcoin, there's another version of Bitcoin that's been quietly, well, crushing it. It's called Bitcoin Cash, and honestly, a lot of people had written it off. But its recent performance is making everyone, and I mean everyone, ask the same thing. What is going on and why now? Let's dig in.
Okay, and this is what's really turning heads. Just look at these numbers. While Bitcoin has been kind of flat over the last month, Bitcoin Cash is up over 7%. But the year-to-date numbers, that's where the real story is. We're talking a surge of over 30% for BCH, while at the same time, Bitcoin has actually dropped more than 11%. This isn't just a small blip, folks. This is a huge break from the pack leader.
So, yeah, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The rest of the market seems to be taking a bit of a breather, consolidating its gains. So what in the world is the engine pushing Bitcoin Cash forward? Is this just a temporary hype train driven by traders? Or are there some deeper, more fundamental reasons for this rally?
All right, to figure this out, let's start with the folks who are actually trading this stuff. A huge part of this initial price jump, you got to understand, comes down to pure market dynamics. And yep, good old-fashioned speculation. So there are a few key things happening all at once. First, you've got this thing called capital rotation. Think of it like this. Traders who made a nice profit on Bitcoin are cashing some of that out and looking for the next place to park it, the next big thing. And Bitcoin Cash, which had been lagging behind, suddenly looked like a fantastic bet. You can see this feeding right into that strong buying interest and the bullish futures data. That just means traders are literally betting that the price is going to keep going up. And all of that together, it creates what we call technical momentum, where a rising price just attracts even more buyers, and you get this awesome self-reinforcing cycle.
So what is this open interest thing we just mentioned? It's basically the total number of active bets or futures contracts on something. When you see that number climbing, it's a huge signal that fresh money is flowing in. It means investors are getting more and more confident in the current trend. And in the case of Bitcoin Cash lately, that trend has been sharply upward.
But, you know, trading charts and hype cycles, they only tell you so much. If we want to know if this rally really has legs, we have to look past the hype. We have to ask the big question. What is Bitcoin Cash actually for? What's its whole point? And this slide right here, it gets to the absolute core of the difference. Bitcoin, for the most part, has evolved into digital gold. It's an asset you buy and hold for the long term, like a savings account. Bitcoin Cash, on the other hand, is trying to be digital cash, something you actually use for everyday stuff, designed from the ground up for super fast transactions and really low fees. And this whole digital cash thing, it isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. There's a whole ecosystem being built on it. You've got Memo.cash, which is kind of like a decentralized Twitter. There's Cauldron Dex for trading tokens. Even Jukebox.cash for tipping your favorite creators. But you know what? Maybe the coolest example is Zapit, a wallet that lets people in India pay at thousands of local stores with Bitcoin Cash. And we're not just talking about a handful of early adopters here. We're talking over 2,400 merchants that take Bitcoin Cash, either directly or through services like BitPay. Seriously, in a world where so many cryptocurrencies are just assets to speculate on, this focus on actual, real-world payments is what makes Bitcoin Cash stand out.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. It hasn't all been a success story. To get the full picture, we have to talk about the challenges. Bitcoin Cash has hit some pretty big technical hurdles that are really important to understand.
And the story of Smart BCH is, well, it's a perfect example of these growing pains. The idea was brilliant. Create a sidechain that could work with Ethereum, bringing all those popular DeFi apps into the Bitcoin Cash world. But, and this is a big but, the bridge connecting the two was centralized. It was a single point of failure. And when that bridge failed, users lost money and a lot of trust was broken. It was a huge cautionary tale for the community. So the big takeaway here is that the community learned a really tough lesson. Instead of building these complex side projects, the developers are now laser-focused on improving the main Bitcoin Cash network itself, what we call Layer 1. They're building new features like cash tokens directly into the core code to make it more powerful and secure, without having to rely on these risky external bridges. All right, so when you mix together the market hype, that focus on real-world use, and the tough lessons they've learned from past mistakes, what does the future actually look like for Bitcoin Cash? Well, for this recent rally to be more than just a flash in the pan, Bitcoin Cash really has to nail a few key things. First, it has to keep delivering on that promise of being a killer payment system. Second, it needs to get more partnerships to boost adoption. Third, it absolutely has to keep innovating with network upgrades. And finally, getting some clear, favorable regulations around crypto payments could be the last piece of the puzzle.
And this really just says it all, doesn't it? The speculative waves, they're going to come and go. But long-term, real value is built on a foundation of genuine use. If Bitcoin Cash can actually prove that it's the best, most efficient tool for digital payments, then this recent outperformance, well, it could be just the beginning.
So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. As this entire crypto world grows up and gets more woven into our daily lives, what are we as a society going to value more? A super secure digital store of wealth like gold, or a frictionless, super fast electronic form of cash? The answer to that question might just decide the future for assets like Bitcoin Cash.